Look at them, the obedient ones, the moral ones, the good boys who color inside the lines, who follow every rule, who believe that virtue is its own reward. They smile politely while others take what they want. They wait their turn while the line gets longer. They play fair in a game that was rigged before they were born. And they wonder why they're still waiting for their moment while watching people with half their talent and twice their ruthlessness sit in positions of power. What would you do if no one was watching? Not what you'd say at a dinner party, not what you'd post on social media for your carefully curated audience. What would you actually do if there were no cameras, no witnesses, no consequences, no judgment? That answer, the one you're afraid to speak out loud, that's the real you. Everything else is performance. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago when he wrote that the gap between how people actually live and how they ought to live is so wide that anyone who ignores reality in favor of ideals is learning how to destroy himself, not preserve himself. But they didn't teach you that in school, did they? You've been fed a comfortable lie your entire life. They told you that good things come to those who wait. That honesty is the best policy. That if you work hard and treat people with respect, you'll be rewarded. They sold you a mythology of meritocracy where the virtuous rise and the wicked fall. And you believed it because everyone around you was repeating the same script, the same programming, the same beautiful fiction that keeps the majority docile while a minority operates by completely different rules. The cost of your conditioning is everything you've lost while playing fair. Every promotion that went to someone more willing to take credit for your work. Every relationship where you were honest about your feelings while they strategically withheld theirs to maintain leverage. Every negotiation where you showed your cards because you thought transparency was noble while they concealed theirs and walked away with everything. You've been programmed to lose. Morality isn't a universal law written into the fabric of reality. It's a social construct. A control mechanism, a set of rules that benefits those who convince others to follow them, while they themselves operate in the shadows. Watch the people at the top, not what they say, but what they actually do. The politicians who campaign on family values, while their private lives are a carnival of indiscretion. The business leaders who speak about corporate responsibility, while their companies exploit every legal loophole and some illegal ones, they're confident won't be discovered. The influencers who project authenticity, while every moment of their lives is calculated for maximum engagement. The performance of goodness has become more valuable than actual goodness, because in the economy of perception, appearance is the only currency that matters. Machiavelli observed that a prince who wants to maintain his power must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge or refrain from using it according to necessity. The key phrase there is according to necessity. Morality isn't abandoned, it's deployed strategically. This is the paradox they never explain. The most successful operators aren't immoral monsters. They're people who understand that morality is a tool, not a constraint. They know when to display virtue and when to act in pure self-interest. They've developed what I call dual consciousness, the ability to hold two complete frameworks simultaneously. In public, they speak the language of ethics and community and fairness. In private, they calculate probabilities and advantages and weaknesses. They're not hypocrites, they're realists. They understand that the world runs on power dynamics, not moral principles, and that every moral system ever created has been a reflection of whoever held power at the time. Strategic opacity is your first lesson in actual power dynamics. Visibility is your enemy. The moment people can see exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, you've lost your advantage. The art of operating in gray zones where your actions are technically defensible, but your true intentions remain obscured. This is where real maneuvering happens. Plausible deniability isn't just a legal concept. It's a way of life for anyone who understands how the game actually works. You don't lie. You create situations where multiple interpretations are possible, and you never confirm which one is true. Your reputation is not who you are. Your reputation is a strategic asset that you manage like any other resource. The social mask you wear in public serves a specific purpose: to lower the defenses of others, to position yourself as trustworthy and predictable. to be underestimated by those who mistake your apparent goodness for weakness. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. And those few will not dare to oppose the many who have the majesty of the state defending them. Translation: if you control your image effectively, the masses will defend your reputation even against those who know the truth about you. This isn't about becoming a villain. This is about recognizing that morality, as you were taught, it is a cage designed to keep you manageable. The people who succeed, who accumulate real power, who shape the world according to their vision, they didn't get there by following the rules you were given. They got there by understanding that rules are for those without the intelligence or courage to operate beyond them. Let me tell you something that will make you uncomfortable. Every moral framework you've been taught, every ethical boundary that was drilled into your consciousness since childhood, was designed by someone who already has power to prevent you from taking theirs. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago when he wrote that the gap between how people actually live and how they ought to live is so wide that anyone who ignores reality for idealism is destined for ruin rather than preservation. He wasn't being cynical. He was being accurate. The perception game is everything. Listen carefully. Your actual intentions are irrelevant. Your actual character is irrelevant. What matters is what people believe about your intentions and character. This is the invisible architecture of power that nobody discusses in polite society. When you perform an action, people don't judge the action itself. They judge the story they tell themselves about why you did it. Control the story, and the action becomes whatever you need it to be. Think about the corporate executive who announces a massive layoff. The decision was made for profit margins, for shareholder value, for personal bonus structures. But watch how it's presented. Restructuring for long-term stability, positioning the company for future growth, painful but necessary decisions. The executive appears on camera with a somber expression, talks about how difficult this was, how much they agonized over it. They've engineered a moral alibi for an amoral action. The perception is reluctant leadership making tough choices. The reality is calculated self-interest. The gap between these two things is where power operates. Or consider the politician who votes for legislation that benefits their largest donors. The vote is purchased, plain and simple. But the press release talks about job creation, economic development, supporting hardworking families. They hold town halls where they perform empathy, where they listen with concerned expressions, where they speak about values and principles. They're not lying about their values. They're creating a perception layer that makes questioning their motives seem cynical and unfair. Anyone who points out the donor connection gets labeled as a conspiracy theorist, as someone who can't accept that people might have genuine policy disagreements. This is the game Machiavelli described. Appear merciful, appear faithful, appear humane, appear upright, appear religious, appear. The appearance is the weapon. The reality is whatever serves your interests. Now let's talk about consequence calculus, because this is where most people's thinking completely falls apart. They've been trained to ask, is this right or wrong? That's the question of a child, of someone who still believes in universal moral laws handed down from the sky. The question that separates those who accumulate power from those who don't is different. It's what happens if I do this, and what happens if I don't? Followed immediately by, what are the chances I get caught, and what are the consequences if I do? Machiavelli advised that when considering an action, you should focus on whether you can carry it out successfully and whether the benefits outweigh the risks. Morality doesn't enter the equation because morality is not a force in the universe. It's a social agreement, and social agreements are only as strong as their enforcement mechanisms. Let me give you the mathematics. Every action has a potential gain and a potential cost. The potential cost is not the moral weight of the action. It's the probability of detection multiplied by the severity of consequences if detected. A high-gain action with low detection probability and manageable consequences if detected is, by any rational calculation, the correct choice. This is how power operates. This is how it has always operated. You build safety nets. You create exit strategies. You ensure that if things go wrong, you have somewhere to land. The sophisticated operator never takes an action without having mapped out the failure scenarios and prepared for them. This isn't paranoia. This is basic risk management applied to the realm of power dynamics. Write in the comments what you would do if you knew you'd never get caught. Be honest with yourself, because that honesty is the beginning of understanding how the world actually works. Now we arrive at selective ethics. And this is perhaps the most sophisticated tool in the arsenal. Morality is not abandoned, it's weaponized. You display ethical behavior strategically, in moments and contexts where it serves your interests. You become known as someone with principles, but you choose which principles to display and when. Here's why this works. When you establish a reputation for integrity in certain areas, people stop questioning you in other areas. If you're known for being honest about small things, people assume you're honest about big things. If you're publicly generous in visible ways, people don't scrutinize where your money actually goes. You create a halo effect that provides cover for operations that can't bear scrutiny. Machiavelli observed that it's useful to seem compassionate, faithful, humane, upright, and religious, and to actually be so, but with a mind so flexible that if the need arises to be otherwise, you're capable of changing. This is the dual consciousness of the successful operator. You're not a sociopath who feels nothing. You're someone who understands that feelings and strategy are separate domains. The most powerful application of selective ethics is weaponizing others' moral expectations. When you understand what someone believes is right and wrong, you can predict their behavior with remarkable accuracy. They've locked themselves into patterns. They've created boundaries they won't cross. You can operate in the spaces they've declared off limits to themselves. The person who loudly proclaims they'd never compromise their principles has just told you exactly how to outmaneuver them. They've announced their constraints. They've given you a map of their limitations. Meanwhile, you maintain the appearance of principles while preserving complete operational flexibility. This is asymmetric warfare in the realm of power dynamics. There's tremendous power in being underestimated as good. When people believe you're naive, when they think you're operating from pure motives, when they assume you're not calculating, they drop their guard around you. They share information they shouldn't share. They reveal their strategies. They don't see you as a threat until it's far too late. The person everyone believes is genuinely kind, genuinely moral, genuinely concerned with doing the right thing. That person has access that the obvious operator never gets. They're invited into rooms where real decisions are made because they seem safe. They're trusted with sensitive information because surely someone so ethical wouldn't misuse it. This is camouflage at its most effective. Here's the ultimate insight. The thing that separates those who understand power from those who are merely subject to it. Morality is a tool, not a master. It's a language you speak when speaking that language serves your purposes. It's a costume you wear when that costume gets you what you want. It's a weapon you deploy against those who still believe it's something more. Freedom exists in understanding the game. Real freedom. Not the fake freedom they sell you. The freedom to choose between options they've pre-selected. The freedom to express yourself within boundaries they've established. Actual freedom comes from recognizing that the rules are not laws of nature. They're social constructs maintained by collective belief and enforcement mechanisms. When you see them clearly, you can navigate around them, through them, beyond them. The invisible rules that govern real power are simple. Perception matters more than reality. Consequences matter more than morality. Strategic flexibility beats rigid principles. Cover beats exposure. And understanding all of this while others remain blind to it gives you an advantage so profound it might as well be a superpower. You now see what others are blind to. The veil has been lifted. The comfortable lies they told you about how the world works have been exposed for what they are. Control mechanisms. Tools to keep you compliant, predictable, manageable. This knowledge separates you from the controlled masses who still believe that being good is enough, that playing by the rules leads to success, that the universe rewards virtue. You know better now. You understand that power respects awareness, not innocence. You're not immoral. You're awake to reality. And that makes all the difference.